This is the new Volkswagen Golf R-Line, which at $37,450 is the priciest Golf in the range if you don't include the GTI and Golf R hot hatches. The R-Line shares much of the styling features with the Golf R, but lacks the big stonking 2-litre turbocharged engine, instead coming with a smaller 110 kilowatt 1.4-litre turbo that's shared with the entry-level Golf and the Golf Life. In this video, we're going to have a look at this sheep in wolf's clothing to see what it offers under its skin. But first, have you subscribed to the Wheels YouTube channel yet? Click on the red button below and you will get a couple of in-depth video reviews like this every week. So does the Golf R-Line make a compelling case to justify its extra cost? Let's find out by taking a deep dive into its design and features before taking it for a drive. Volkswagen's current design language is proof that conservative design doesn't need to be boring, and I really like the way the new Mark 8 looks. There aren't too many creases and folds, just a couple nice lines going along the door shoulder, the waistline, and then along the sill, which are almost running parallel. The bonnet's got some nice sculpted look to it, but it's nice and big, and that leads to this really narrow grille design with the big VW badge. Then there's a sports bumper and huge black diffuser flanked by LED fog lamps and slimline scoops. A less is more approach has also been given to the rear end, which adds a sleek looking indentation that flows from the rear bumper up to the tailgate. As well as the sportier front bumper, the R-Line stands out with chrome highlights along the grille and twin exhaust tips and piano black trim on the bumpers and side skirts. The R-Line also has two-tone 18-inch rims that are bigger than the 16s and 17s on the entry-level Golf and Golf Life respectively. And the suspension has been lowered by 15mm, which is enough to give it a more athletic stance. So what do you reckon? Does the new Golf look sleek and sophisticated, or do I need to go back to Specsavers? Tell us in the comments below, but remember to be nice. Inside, the R-Line comes with cloth monogram sports seats with excellent side bolstering, and I reckon these are more comfortable than the leather seats in other models. The grey cloth and microfleece trim has a distinctive pattern that reminds me of the plaid seats of the Golf GTI. The seats are manually adjusted, but there is an infinity dial so you can get the backrest exactly where you want it. One of the big changes with the Mark 8 Golf is the distinct lack of physical buttons and switches. Sure, you get the engine start-stop and you open the windows in the traditional way, but everything else on the fascia is a sort of touchpad or slider, which can be really sensitive, particularly with these sort of controls here where you got the volume and air conditioning, and you've got to do one thing while you're driving and end up doing another. A lot of the car's functions have been consigned to the touchscreen, which can be a little tricky when you're driving if you have to negotiate different menus and all that stuff to find something. There are a couple of sort of fast buttons just below here which you can access climate control, driving modes, park assist, and I'm not a big fan of climate control set on a screen normally because it's so much easier to just use the traditional sort of dials, but with this there are a couple of clever things like smart climate. So if you're driving and maybe want some warm air on your feet, instead of having to go and change all the settings, you just press the warm my feet button and it just does it with one touch. There's fresh air, cool my feet, warm hands, window demister, all that sort of thing. So that's not a bad thing. One thing I don't like is adjusting the fan speed. To me, that is something that a dial does really well. Instead, you've got to go into the screen and just find a slider, which is really fiddly, and it just makes what should be a simple thing quite frustrating. Other features include wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and a wireless phone charger. The controls on the steering wheel are also touchpads, but at least with these ones, they've got a bit of a haptic feel, which means you sort of feel them push in a bit, which is a lot handier while you're driving. Other than that, things are quite familiar. You've got the stalks for the windscreen wipers and the lights, and of course, paddle shifters. There's also a driving mode display that lets you swap between Eco, Comfort, Sport and individual settings. Behind the sports steering wheel is a 10.25-inch digital gauge display that can be customised with different colours. It also allows for different views, including navigation and active safety monitor. This car also comes with a sound and vision package that for $1,500 brings a head-up display and a 480-watt Harman Kardon premium audio system. It's worth noting that while the Golf Mark 8 is a new model, it's built on the same MQB platform as the Golf 7 and 7.5, so there are marginal difference to interior space. But there are a few new touches that you'll see, particularly in this R-Line spec, such as these little handy pockets at the top of the seat where you can just plonk your phone, which is pretty handy. Legroom is a bit on the tightest side. I'm about average height, and it's not too bad for me, but anyone taller will start feeling it. But you can get your feet under the seats, which should have just let you stretch out a bit, and that's pretty good. I reckon this will be a pretty comfortable car for 2 people. You're also looked after pretty well in this car because it's got 3-way climate control. You not only have your own air vents, but you can control the heating and cooling as well, independent of the people in the front. You also get a couple of USB-C sockets, which are the smaller ones, and of course a pop-down centre armrest with the customary cup holders. The Golf has a handy 374 litre boot space, which is 800mm long with the rear seats up and 1003mm wide between the wheel arches. The boot floor is adjustable so it can be level with the boot lip or a little deeper to carry more stuff. Below the floor is a space-saver spare wheel and associated tools. As well as being able to store longer items through the middle of the seat backs fold down to a 60-40 split that provides up to 1,493mm between the boot and front seats, or up to 1,293 litres. Safety-wise, the Mark 8 Golf has a 5-star ANCAP rating, with each version equipped with 8 airbags and Volkswagen IQ drive technology that includes adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist and AEB with pedestrian and cyclist detection that will also brake if you're about to turn in front of an oncoming vehicle. So it's safe, packed with features and looks of goods. But what is the Volkswagen Golf R-Line like to drive? Well, it has the same 110 kilowatt, 250 newton metre petrol turbo engine as the previous model. The difference with the Mark 8 Golf is it has an 8-speed torque converter automatic gearbox instead of a 7-speed dual clutch. This actually makes it a fraction slower, with the 0 to 100 kilometre time increasing from 8.2 to 8.5 seconds, not that you'll really notice. On the plus side, you don't get that lag on takeoff that you get with dual clutch autos. That said, despite the relatively low power output, this is a pretty punchy engine. It's got a good mid-range too, so once you're driving and you need to overtake, you're never caught short, and it's really good for negotiating hills. And you know what? There's plenty of power for legal thrills. This is a great little engine with a manual gearbox, but unfortunately in the Golf range, that's only available in the cheapest version, which misses out on a lot of the features found in this. So if you do want more, you're stuck with the Auto. As well as the driving modes we mentioned earlier, the R-Line also benefits from the 15mm lower sport suspension and progressive steering that's also found in the Golf GTI and R. Even with the firmer suspension, the ride is reasonably comfortable, even in sport mode. You sort of do feel every little bump, but a lot of that is due to the low profile tyres on the 18-inch rims. On the plus side, it's plenty of fun to chuck around bends and roundabouts. Another issue with the low profile tyres is they make a tinny noise over certain surfaces that cut through to the cabin. Wind noise, on the other hand, is well tamed. In short, while it lives in the shadow of the hot hatch Golfs, the R-Line still provides plenty of driver enjoyment for a fraction of the cost. So, is the R-Line the sweet spot of the standard Volkswagen Golf range? Probably not. To me, that probably goes to the mid-spec Golf Life that brings the same performance and a lot of the features found in the R-Line for about $3,000 less. And while it's up there in terms of pricing for mainstream hatchbacks, if you look at the R-Line as a bit of a budget premium German hatchback, then I reckon it's a bit of a bargain.